This is Talk is Sheep, a podcast by the Wild Sheep Society of British Columbia. Come along as we take conversations that matter to you into the high alpine.
Mr. Hamilton, how are you?
You never ever learn to bring the challenge coin, do you?
Dude, leave it alone, all right?
How many drinks do you owe now?
You think you'd be safe in your own home, right? You think you're like, okay, I'm safe, but nope.
We've been
You
friends.
can't leave it alone.
We've been friends long enough. You should know that I'm going to take every chance I get to get a free drink. Right?
Yeah, I owe you a bottle or two now, I think, unfortunately.
I'm good with that. So that was an awesome
good stuff.
episode, hey?
The last one, this one, which one?
This last one with Trev.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude, he so knowledgeable. And the neat thing with this episode with Trev, we talk taxidermy, and he lives that experience. He's a sheep hunter, so he's using his experience on the mountain and his experience in the shop to give us the best possible scenario in terms of prepping and being ready for your hunt, right? So
Yeah, the real world application is so invaluable, and like I said before we started recording, I've skinned a ton of animals for taxidermy, and I learned something every time I talk to Trev about this. Just like I said, the real world application of little tips and tricks that he'll get into is like, oh, I never even thought of that. And I'm sure anybody, no matter how many times they've been up the mountain, is going to learn something from this episode, and I'm stoked for it.
Well, it's interesting that we just recorded it, an hour and 25 minutes long. So it's a long episode, and you think, holy, that's a long one to listen to. But the reality is we probably could have talked for 2.5 hours. We kept it fairly high level, and it's just super interesting. And everything, like I said, me too, the same thing. I've got a little bit of background putting animals on the ground, and I learned 3 or 4 things that'll take away from this. So it's not just for the new hunter, it's for anyone that's, on the mountains. There's just some new ways of doing things and thinking it from a taxidermist perspective. And like I said, the cool thing with Trev is he's a sheep hunter too, so he's giving you both sides of it, which I think there's a lot of value there. So.
Oh yeah, it's just like I said, such a great dude. We've been friends for a few years now, and like I said, every time we chat when it comes to taxidermy, it's just, damn it, I never even would have thought of that. Like it's just so many tips and tricks, and I'm gonna apply them this September. Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, hopefully on a big ass caribou. That's what I'd love to see that, and maybe a sheep too, right?
I'm not picky, just something.
Yeah, awesome. So, okay, so a couple things just from a wild sheep side of things. We had our AGM on Saturday, June 12th. It was good. We had a nice turnout. We got our elections done, and sorry, folks, you're stuck with me as your president again. So I ran. Against nobody. So I had the odds were in my favor, but I do have to say, I just want to say from a personal perspective that it truly is an honor to be back in this role as president. And I want to thank David Heitzman for his leadership this past year. David stepped in last year and shepherded the society to new heights, right? And I'm honored to be back in this position and to take over from David, and really looking forward to be, leading this great team. We got such a great team of directors and executive and committee members, and the support from our membership. So I'm really excited about 21, 22, Steve.
Oh, absolutely, and congratulations again for not only running unopposed and getting in, but you're a great fit. You're a great fit. We've been friends for years, and we've worked together with you as president before, and it's just I'm stoked for 2021, and yeah, we're gonna hit new heights of the Alpine, as we like to say in the intro to this. And yeah, we've got some new people in, and some old people that did a lot that have stepped back, and just yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Wild Sheep Society member for sure.
Absolutely, yeah, and you bring up that point, and David Hale stepped down as our off our board this year, and I just a huge shout out and thank you to David. David's done a ton this past year. He's stepping back because he's got some stuff going on that he needs to deal with before he can get back in. But I don't think this is the last we've seen of David, and I just want to
No,
thank him for his support and dedication this past year. So yeah, really stoked about the year ahead. Now, with regards to the episode, we are all the way up to episode 33, lucky number 33. Really appreciate all our listeners and all their support, everything they're doing to grow this podcast and to support the society. This is a fantastic episode with it's Trevor Carruthers. He's the owner of Rackmaster Taxidermy, life member of the Wild Sheep Society BC, huge proponent, donates a lot to wild sheep conservation in the province. And this is going to be a great episode.
For,
So,
award
episode
award winning too, isn't he? President's Award.
absolutely. Trev was the 2020 President's Award winner. He's also the organizer of the Wild Sheep Jurassic Classic and has just done a ton of work for wild sheep conservation on the volunteer end of things. And also he's donating every year to the society in all the work that he does as well. So yeah, we're super grateful for everything Trevor does. Owner of Rackmaster Taxidermy. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. And enjoy episode 33 with Trevor Carruthers.
If you looked up the words conservation superhero in the dictionary, you would see a picture of our friend Omer from Precision Optics. A tireless donor and supporter of all things wild sheep, Precision Optics, located in Quesnel, British Columbia, truly stands alone in the high alpine. From optics to rifles to outdoor gear and a knowledge that cannot be surpassed, toss in that killer smile and you have a total conservation package. Precision Optics, we are truly thankful for the support you show us every step of the way. Find them online at precisionoptics.net or in Aroma Foods, located just off Highway 97 in Quesnel, BC.
So today on the show, we're going to jump into a bunch of taxidermy stuff. On Talk of Sheep, a lot of people are looking for how-to stuff, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to sit down with you. You're a sheep hunter at heart, so this would be a great opportunity for you to kind of talk about, right from planning your trip to executing on the field, being successful on the hunt, whether it be a full mount, a shoulder mount, whatever the case, Euro, I guess, in theory. And then, what happens when you bring it home, how to prepare it for your taxidermist, but kind of more of a how to nuts and bolts for kind of a sheep hunter. And, obviously there's the new sheep hunter, which is really going to benefit. But I know even myself, who's been in the field quite a bit, not a ton, but I'm still learning tons every year. But I always pick up stuff, and I hear stuff from you. You post stuff on social, other taxidermists. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to really focus on today is just kind of the real how-to nuts and bolts, more from a sheep hunter perspective, not from a taxidermist perspective. But I think you bring that flavor where you got both, right? So I think it'll be really beneficial.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Right on. Okay, so before we do that, not only are you a valued government employee, and you are you're a taxidermist by trade as well, but you're also the lead on the Wild Sheep Jurassic Classic. So pretty excited this year. Actually, it's looking good for maybe having an event. Can you talk a little bit about what's going on with the Jurassic and give our listeners an update? I know some of our listeners attend the Jurassic, and we're always talking about it. So let's jump into some Jurassic stuff.
Yeah, you bet. Well, it was a rough year with canceling it. I think when March rolled around last year, we thought we would have been missed, but here we are, 406 days later, and this year in the last started feeling really hopeful that we were going to put an event together. We started talking back in April, May about possibilities and whether the border would be open and whether American guests were going to be able to come up, and social gathering and just everything that kind of do an event like the Jurassic Classic, and with Scott from GOC and Dee from Great River Fishing, and some news in the media every day in regards to their social distancing and border possibly opening, vaccinated folks and how that looks. But we're rolling full steam. I don't know if it will be a full event just with where we're getting to in the season and some people's plans, but so far response has been really, really good. People are really looking forward to just coming together and spending some time together. The fishing obviously is always amazing part of it, but people, I know I miss that together with everyone on a weekend and just telling stories, laughing and hearing about the good stuff for wild sheep. So yeah, we're probably see some releases in the next 2 to 3 weeks once July 1st rolls around and we have a bit of what both provincial and look like. But we are full steam ahead with really, really good sponsor support, which has been amazing to jump right back in, have great sponsor support, and we're going to have this.
Yeah, right on, man. So, yeah, that's one thing I've noticed too is the sponsors are really keen to get on board. They really want to support our conservation initiatives, and so that's really exciting. Now, in terms of the event itself, is it going to look different than past years? Like, obviously, there's still the COVID's hanging around, and you're talking about social distancing and that. What's your gut feeling there? And I know we don't know exactly, we don't have all the answers, and we're trying to work that out. But um, I guess one of the cool things with Jurassic, it's you're outdoors, right? The event itself is held outdoors. Of course, you eat inside and that sort of stuff. But do you see a big difference there, or how does that look to you, Trev?
I don't see a giant difference. I think ironically we're on that number that'll be interesting. Everybody talks about the 50 number in terms of gatherings inside. Uh, that's for kind of BC's reopening plan and whatnot. 56 participants plus our you and I and the dean's crew. So I think maybe a few indoor things with some COVID safety plans and whatnot. Yeah, I don't see much different from other years, which is really like you said, the bulk of the event. And I think we're going to be able to maneuver easily enough around any gatherings by then. A lot of it is still waiting to be announced. There's a little bit of a hesitation. If things go as yeah, I think the event's going to look great, and the chance for the get to be high as other years. Sidetrack a little or move around. Make sure that we're not. We don't have too many people indoors. I don't think it'll take away from the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah, right on, man. That's one of the things that, we talked about on that call with Dean, obviously yourself, Dean, and Scott was, just let's get the family back together. We, as a Wild Sheep family, we've been hiding in our homes and trying to connect online. And, it might not be the perfect experience, but it's going to be an experience where we're together. And, it's certainly going to be better than a virtual event. So, yeah, I'm really excited about it. Appreciate all the hard work you're doing. And, see these things come together and these sponsors stepping up. And, yeah, I'm super stoked. So it's going to be a great weekend on the Fraser River. So.
For those people that are listening that don't know what the Jurassic Classic is, can one of you give a Cole's notes of what it is and how it came to be?
Don't you have to go back to like episode and re-listen to that all over again just to?
You would, but a lot
Yeah,
of our
you would,
listeners
but
don't.
nobody's going to. They've already fast forwarded through my part here, beginning. Here, so. The yeah is a collaborative event with Wild Sheep Foundation, Wild Sheep Society BC, all together. Without the support of Dean Work and Great River Adventures, we wouldn't be very much. But it's essentially Dean Works crew, fully guided of sturgeon fishing on the Fraser River. We sell at wild sheep events and some SCI chapters, some fish and game chapters throughout Canada and North America and the United States. We sell them at Sheep Show, and we've done some market. So, and people come in teams of 2 for the entire weekend. 20th this year, but third weekend in August every year. They show up on the Friday after, and we put on a full weekend where they don't very much. So they have 2 days of fishing. We have a fundraiser, awards bank. We have a guide auction and a get together on the Friday. Hospitality suite is never very popular with our guests, so it's usually pretty empty. But entire weekend is just show up and don't think of anything else other than having fun, catching giant sturgeon in BC, and we put over $100,000 for wild sheep in the 4 years that we've operated. This will be and this will be our 5th year running. Really cool event. Lots of stuff online about us. I joke about we did one of the earlier Talk of Sheeps. I don't know which one. Yeah, somewhere in there. And Dean is the man to really understand his fishery.
I think the one key takeaway here for anyone that doesn't know a thing about Jurassic is these trips sell across North America. Some of them sell north of $5,000 for 2 people, and you think 2 days of fishing for $5,000, that's ridiculous. And I would agree with you, it's ridiculous, but this is not a fishing trip. That's the big difference between Jurassic and a regular fishing trip. This is the who's, the bee's knees of the wild sheep community. We come together from all across North America. You get the CEO of the Wild Sheep Foundation show up. You get names in the sheep hunting community that you recognize online. And you just get the regular Joe, but super passionate about conservation, wild sheep. And it is just, it's kind of a meeting of people that are super passionate about wild sheep and conservation. And that feeling throughout the weekend, it energizes me, keeps me going all year because it's such an eclectic group of people, but we're all driven by the same thing. And it's about, making sheep are staying. We're keeping them on the mountain. We're putting them on the mountain. And it's so much excitement and so much energy for wild sheep. It's indescribable, right? So people pay a premium for it. And it's not just a weekend of fishing, right?
No, exactly. If I wasn't putting it on, I'd go up because I am most certainly not the who's or the need. So I'm just lucky enough that I continue to show up because, like you said, what we have there is others people that trying to get there and looking at any opportunity to try to. I'm just a lucky grunt that happens to bump elbows with people that are so passionate about wild sheep, which is awesome.
Yeah, well said, Trev. Yeah, and can't thank you enough for everything that you continue to do and how you drive that fundraiser. It's so much fun. So, all right, so let's get to your second passion and let's talk taxi. Rackmaster Taxidermy, you've been in the business a long time. I know that you're turning people away. You're a busy guy with all this. So today, let's jump into the nuts and bolts of it. And I think, Trev, I'll kind of lead you, guide me, but my thoughts are, or guide us, but my thoughts are, let's start like at the planning stage, like a guy's thinking about or girl's thinking about getting out in the bush, maybe going to plan a sheep hunt for this fall. And it's probably getting a bit late. They probably have planned this already, but you're in the planning stages. So somebody's thinking about going sheep hunting. What do they need to think about with regards to taxidermy and what should be kind of their first steps in that process?
Yeah, it's never too late to start planning. That's the important part. I get people they're supposed to do in August and whatnot, and people think is not planning at all. Either don't plan for success, and that general hunting terms as well. There's a lot of people that just they go out on a hunt and they hope for success. But if you plan, kind of hit the checkpoint on what you should be bringing, how you're going to do things after you are successful and you're ready for it. There's a ton of resources out there on the internet. Some of them better than others. And you and I talked about it, a couple of days ago when we chatted about me coming on here. Is that some of the stuff, the best is in person. The second best is like a webinar where you can really see what I'm talking about with specifics. And I'm not too much into some of those specifics that won't make a ton of sense. There are some good videos out there with some deer caping. There's and different taxidermists that have done seminars and whatnot are some of your best experience. But yeah, planning, trying to absorb all that and understanding, creating a list on what you need to bring. Some of the extra things that you're going to carry that if you're watching every and understanding the importance of it for the quality of the product. And I tell people that if you put the time in to worry about once you are done, you should also put the same time and energy into what you. That's easy for me to say as a taxidermist, but most people that are sheep and goat hunting want something as well as the meat, and that's not that it's a trophy hunt, but it is animal that won't be. So I know I can almost remember the last time I could get stone sheep meat out of my freezer. I can remember I went out. That's the last one. But that's something to look at every day. Remind me of the hunt. Remind me of the training. Succeeded and had some laughs along the way and swore a little bit along the way. And that is to put together that part. It's without really good prep. No different than very tough to drop off a bunch of meat that's been in the dirt and hasn't been put in game bag. And trying to hope the butcher is going to be able to do something to make that next year of meals or 2 years for you. Yeah, of the way I look at it.
Right on, man. So, yeah, it makes perfect sense. So now you talked about what's in your pack, right? So, and you're a sheep hunter. You've a successful sheep hunter. You're no longer part of the less than one. Um, what are some of the things that you're thinking about when you're and I like hearing your perspective because you get both sides of it. You get the stuff you need to do a really good job as a tax or as a in the field with caping and all that sort of stuff. So, what tools do you need in there? And then I guess really the big thing for guys planning is salt. How much salt do you need? And maybe let's touch a little bit on the shoulder mount, which is probably 95% or 99% of what guys do. And then for the odd person that maybe is thinking, maybe they got a big ram targeted or whatever, and they're going to go in the backcountry and do a full mount. So, what are you thinking in terms of gear when you're putting together your pack for the fall?
What I do is I bring one and that's a cape bag. I always have cape bag with me. It's almost always just an extra type of so I use a caribou or a big bag. I have used used a feed bag. Also works really well. Durlap. Even the cheesecloth ones that are really thick are pretty decent for cape preparation. Holding a cape. You want something that can get into that a little bit later of why it needs to be able to leak and let water. Havalon in the blade knife. I like. I am a little bit old school in that I really like a small little caping knife that I hone up throughout the process. If you're not comfortable, a little caping knife Avalon is pretty hard to beat if you're you're handy with it for getting in the work after the cape is on or off the animal. 3 to 4 blades is probably that's not the taxidermist in me talking. That's the in me that knows that I don't need to carry more than I need to. So I would use a fixed blade knife for until I got back to cape that animal, probably back at your tent the next morning, and that there's no real point in using Avalon throughout everything unless it's all you're carrying. Obviously, you've got a sharpener. Obviously, if you're going the blade knife for a little caper and a sharpener, you can sharpen a little caper on. I have a caper that's like it's the size of kind of my first knuckle almost. So it's a little tiny. Make sure you know what you're doing to sharpen that thing up, because some sharpeners are a little trickier to sharpen a little knife. And the backpack hunt is it doesn't really matter. 5-6 day hunt, 12 to 14 day hunt. I am almost always bringing a 710 milliliter Gatorade bottle full of salt. Some people a little bit less, and some people use a 500 and some odd milliliter. Hey, that one right there, that's Steve Hamilton. So, I find that 710 is a little bit of a mix. That's the comparable. Salt is probably perfect. If I could convince, that'd be great. But 710, those bottles, they are durable enough that you don't have to worry about them. They're salt in there to do everything you need for salting on a cape. And if you have each one of you carrying one, often around one goat, etc. For the remainder of your trip, so you're not having to go back down to a base camp or a river or a lake where you were dropped off for more salt. You can often share that salt base camp or spike camp without worrying about salt on that one, because backing straight out. So it allows you to lengthen out your hunt, spread out that salt. The thing about it, if you aren't successful, 710 milliliters of salt and walk out empty. You have an extra water bottle once you are successful, because it's just great to have with you. They're light. Guys weigh how much salt they bring, but that's just about the perfect amount. Fine salt. Don't buy something that's really salt that you can really get into every little on that cape and let it go a long ways. Rock salt a long ways when you're using that big heavy duty stuff. And that, in terms of cape prep, guys are thinking what they're going to do to get their meat out safely.
Like regular table salt type stuff, like the stuff you can buy at Costco or whatever.
I can buy it in I buy it a 20 kg of a fine white salt. Salt will work. You sometimes pay for iodized salt versus non, and it is not going to break. Just go into a farm store, and you're going to need enough that you have anyways, or back at your truck if you're hiking off the highway, and in that case, I tell people to just the small Home Depot bucket. So Home Depot has like 2 size buckets. I can't remember how many that one is, how big that one is. Fill one of those up, smash a lid on it, and scoop or something that you can use once you get back down to. And I leave that wherever so you aren't worrying about a bag of salt sitting in the lake. And again, you then have a bucket you can use for packing out different things, flying out or driving home. So I always leave that much sheep and goat hunt back at day hunts. Obviously different. I'm talking. That's you know, to a freezer somewhere, and then that changes the whole game. So.
Right on, man. So just a couple things. You're always carrying two knives. So you got your full knife. You got the one you're packing with you, and then you have a little caper. And that little caper, I guess if you're spiking out, you maybe leave it in your spike camp during the day. You're not going to cape them in the field likely anyway, right? So are you carrying that little caper with you all the time? But you're carrying two knives regardless, right?
I mean, just a general sheep hunting philosophy is I always have a fixed blade because I know how I can break have a lot of knife. There's some that just have so I'll always have some sort on me, and I usually sort, and then I leave that knife back in my my prep kit essentially. And that's not is that kit is usually about 4 pairs of latex gloves in a baggie with a caping knife as well. So that gloves to sit there and work the next day, or that and I don't bring it on the mountain every day with me. Is where.
Cool. Okay, so now you're out in the bush. Let's. I guess we'll paint the scenario. Let's do a fly-in trip. You fly into the lake. You got a mini base camp at there, and then but you're spiking out. So you get you're going to go off and you're on. So let's say we're a 2-week trip. And it could be anything in between. But let's say we're going to go for 14 days. You head off in the hills and you hike three days back from the lake, which guys can or can't do. And then you get a ram on the ground. So you got, and we'll paint the scenario a bit more. You got two guys, typical scenario, two guys, you got two sheep tags. You want to hunt for 14 days. You hike back, you go in, let's say you fly in 2 days before the opener, hike back, and opening morning, you got a ram on the ground. So what's the first thing, you get a ram down, what's the first thing you're going to do around the taxidermy side of things? How do we start approaching it? What do we got to think about it? And some of the questions that are on my mind are, how soon do you have to get the cape off? Do you cape it first? Do you gut it? That sort of stuff. What are we starting to think about with regards to that?
First, have to have like a swig of whatever I have in my partner's flask that he's carried up. That's the important part. Something, whatever that. The key to good taxidermy is making sure that you. Yeah, gutless method, whatnot. Most, but at least look into that type of stuff, and I won't get into all that. But I essentially treat taking the cape off as part of. If I had an animal, I would start. A lot of people say when you're cutting up the back, they say from the shoulders all the way in between. And I start by saying cut all the way to the tail. Regardless, I just cut all the way down to the tail. The reason I correct people is a lot of people will say cut up. Sometimes damage to those hairs cutting up against the grain of okay. That's for any animal, but the shorter the shows when a taxidermist has to stitch that you cut a bunch of the hairs off at the base or half cutting against the grain. That'll happen with guys. Full cuts too, but there's constantly sticking a knife in and pulling it straight up. So I tell people to find usually kind of between the ears towards the base of the horn, and I would run that blade from that tail. It's the start of a kind of creating the lines that you want. Center line right down the sheep. Some sheep particular usually have a pretty good marker on them. A lot of stone sheep have a little bit of coloration right along their spine, but really not hard to find that center. So one line straight down there, and back caps and whatnot for you to start the deboning process of making sure that you're cleanly and that portion. I start worrying about the backbones or the back straps. Look for where I want to cut the cape off, and this is probably one of the frustrating parts for taxidermists in general. It's better these days, I would say, out there, but take more I think you need. That line where you're like, okay, this is like 3 inches more than, and then go about 2 more than that and say I'm probably wrong, so give it a little bit more. I tell people if you want as many options as you can on a sheep or a goat mount to find almost the center line of where the front leg and the back leg is in between the front and the back leg, and I draw a line right there, and I almost away from anything brisket in the chest, nothing with ribs, but I have extra inches to take. I know what you're doing. I know exactly what you want for a cape. It's as tight as you think that as you can. So I just tell people take more. Before I learned taxidermy, I'd have taxidermists that would exclaim like, you took an extra 8 inches off this elk. But I've never had one complain, and I've never complained to somebody about too much cape. I have complained to a person who has not left me enough cape, and inexperienced hunters, guys that have done multiple sheep hunts, guys that are trying to cut as close to the line as possible. More than you need. Run that line from the back strap to the center point of the stomach, somewhere around there, and do it on both sides. So flip them over, and you got both sides. And for a shoulder mount or pedestal, doesn't involve any of the front half of the leg. Go to the knee joint and cut a circle around that knee joint, and just you can take the bottom of the leg right off anyways. You're probably doing that regardless by the time you do your deboning, but take that off and just leave it as a circle of the around that knee. Don't worry about cutting up the leg or anything. Those tubes. One area that people have problems with is trying to cut the back of the leg, and they cut across an armpit, and if you don't cut across in the right spot, you'll often cut across right in the middle. Really limits how a taxidermist can hide a stitch in a really short-haired, especially sheep cape. So once you tube those knees, you've pretty much made all the cuts you need to do off right up to the head. Take the back straps out. You can take the front end down towards the neck, and then take your and do deboning kind of in the same process. One side, do the other side. I'm always really cognizant of trying to make sure that I am watching where it's pouring or blood spilling on the inside of a cape. I make sure that I kind of try to dump it off as I work. Minimize the blood on the hair, especially goats and lighter colored sheep. It can really make a difference in good taxidermy work is blood all over the cape. Dirt and that kind of stuff doesn't make a difference, and it usually shakes off pretty easy. Even mud, blood really stains hair. Bring that all the way up to the neck, right up, pulling it right to the base of the skull. Just detach it, set it off to the side, and worry about your meat prep. Before you go back to your meat prep, depending on the type of day, and flip the legs back, those two legs back to flesh in, and open that thing up and let it get some air. It would find a little bit of, obviously in the mountain that's a little tougher, but open it up and let it get air. Even breeze going across that is going to cool it down. You don't want to roll it up at that point and throw it in a bag. You don't want to put it in a garbage with a bunch of hide wrapped around it. Warmth and moisture are the two things that you're trying to avoid, and what you're trying to do. And it's the same. It's treating a cape the same way as treating the meat. Warmth and moisture in your meat, because that's going to create. The same thing goes with a cape, and that's what causes slip is bacteria working its way on the follicles, and then that hair starts falling because it can't. It just falls out because of the. So open it up, let it get some air. That's the best time to let it cool, get its first cool on before you wrap it up. Especially if you have 6 hours back to a tent. The worst thing you can do is throw that out. No different than your meat. The worst thing you can do with that meat pile and then try to walk it back in a backpack for 5-6 hours. So that's essentially once you've got that, at that point before I and the meat's all ready to go and I'm ready to pack out. That's the point where I will put the hide skin to skin, essentially backbone to backbone, as if it was lying, on its side, and I would together like that, and then put it in again in a pack and walk it back to base camp.
So, okay, so a scenario where you kill a ram at last light. You kill one at 9 o'clock at night, get it caped out. Now it's midnight. And you still got 5 hours back. You're probably sleeping on the mountain anyway or whatever. But how critical is that to get it cooled off? Is it? I guess the big thing is just don't throw it in your pack and leave it there for 6 hours, no matter what you do immediately after killing it.
Yeah, even as little of a thing into camp at midnight and wanting to, whether that's or whether that's back to a base, the littlest thing of just throwing your backpack down and going and having operation or going and cooking up some meat or just crawling into your sleeping bag because you've been the littlest thing of just leaving that in a pack to just hold heat is a mistake that some people. That can be as simple as driving back from a day hunt. Somebody goes and they shoot a ram on a day hunt. They throw that cape, right, and they drive for 3 or 4 hours back, or they take that pack and they put it in their garage or camp and they leave that cape in there. Before you go zonk out in your sleep, whatever you're going to do, whether that involves celebrating or not, take that cape out. The best time, obviously, to get it out. So take it out, let it get some more air, cool it. Don't let it dry. I always tell you, I want to have a cape that goes that dries without salt because it in fat in places that aren't going to let the hide dry properly. But let it cool off. If you're worried about it drying up too much, even keep it skin so that way that skin that moisture together for that evening and just let it dry. Drape if you're back at camp just to get it off the ground and away from any critters getting into it is obviously super important. Up into a tree and just let it hang like as well. You're probably going to be working on it first thing in the morning anyway, so you should be in the morning on this.
Okay, couple things for you. It's raining out, so you get your ram down. You're in a rainstorm, or it's raining the entire time. What do you need to think about then? I know you talked about moisture and that sort of stuff. Obviously, trying to keep that cool. You can still cool it off, but now are you trying to keep the meat side down so that it's not getting rained on, or what should we be thinking about with managing that with regards to moisture?
Yeah, so moisture. I'll talk. Same time. So rain is obviously one. Other thing about rain is things are going to cool down, so you're going to have one of the variables gone of that heat. Now you might have the one moisture either via rain or via washing. I get to is that at one point you're probably going to have heat that'll mix with it as well, and moisture regardless is going to cause issues down the road. But that night is good because you're taking a lot of. Whether you leave it the the water just kind of the rain wash off any of that blood, etc. Whether you leave it skin to skin and let the water is going to be positive. Just letting it, and you're gonna. It's okay if that are the same about the meat. They don't like. It's okay if that cape gets wet, so long as you manage the fact that you're going to be taking that moisture out of it as soon as possible. Same with washing capes. Some people are strong advocates of not washing capes. Believe that you should wash every cape, and that's why you'll get a little even taxidermists, tanneries. I washed my stone sheet, a bit of blood on, and I was going to manage it. It was August hunt. I killed on August 21st. It had been hot and sunny, and washing the river or in the little creek was valuable. Get all that blood out, then leaving it and just letting it dry. I knew I was going to flesh it perfect. Lots of salt and lots of good air to get that thing dry. So a really cold, quick wash was good. Don't leave that cave river overnight or for a long. Put it on a little bit, let some water drain off it. That's fine, and no different than the rain. Let it cool off, let it wash both sides if you want. You're going to be working on it anyways. And once you're back at camp, you might have some issues with how you manage your. If it's still pouring rain, really do its job. But the initial getting wet for me outweighs trying to keep warmth, etc.
Yeah, I see some guys. I see some guys that'll sink it in a creek, and then leave it there overnight, and then throw it in a plastic bag, and that totally goes against everything that you just said. So that makes sense.
People like the interesting thing about Cape Prep, everybody's had success doing things. So they, people, and on day, I just walked it up 5 days later. I got it into my freezer and it was fine. Well, that's fine. You can do the same with meat. You can your truck box every day and might not have any spoilage at all. Also do everything so we've all had meat that were like there was good, the temps were good, I had that stuff hanging, it was clean, still somehow had the odd bit of spoilage here and there, especially early season. Capes are the same. Stories of people that have done things, people that have carried garbage bags with sheep capes in them, and they've stayed warm and wet, and they've left them overnight in rivers and whatnot. You always have people that have bucked the odds of doing things wrong and still had success. But the challenge is you want to try to do as many things that you don't have to. So, yeah, I prefer a quick wash. I definitely don't like involving meat or capes unless it's short term. And when I say like short term, there's nothing wrong with using a garbage meat back to your camp, and blood all over all your gear, depending on what pack system you have. You just don't want to leave that meat in week while you're hunting, and want to do the same thing with your cape. I'll throw a cape in a garbage in a week just to get it back, but I'm not going to leave it in there for even after.
I am fully expecting to soak the backpack I've got this year. Not even going to put my stuff into a plastic bag. Just get it all bloody. Is that okay, Kyle?
There you go. Yeah.
He's using my pack. That's why.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So, okay, Trev. So a couple things there. With regards to getting, okay, so you've killed your ram. You're on the mountain. You have taken the hide off. You got the head off. How soon do you have to start thinking about cape and getting the head off getting the hide off the head? So you wake up the next morning. I guess you want to hit it right away. You don't need to do it that night. I guess you got a little bit of time, right? But you don't also want to wait 5 days either, right?
By noon, you've killed a ram. You should be looking at doing it that day. for a couple reasons. You can, the better you do it, the better you're off getting, and as well, the quicker you are going to have more success regardless. You know, not often are you going to get back in a day and get it out whatnot, that you're going to have. Most people are going to do something the next morning, and I'd be the next morning. No different than meat. If you've brought meat, you don't want it on bone, etc., and you're going to debone, that's about the same time that you should start thinking about it. As soon as you can, with it, 2 o'clock in the morning, doing it when you don't have no school. So you know, you're just looking at the first opportunity that you can. Obviously, you have to make sure that you have all your meat to camp and whatnot. If it's taking a couple trips, like, you should be worried things first before Cape. But fry up on a rock, you'd probably decide some time. And that's a mistake that some people will make, is they want to keep hunting, and they'll do it 3 or 4 days down the road because they want to maximize their hunt. But properly, it's not going to take you a whole ton of time to get it to a state where it's.
Okay, so now you've got your ram. You're back at your spike camp. We'll call it. You're still 2-3 days from the lake. Your buddy's still got a tag, so you know you want to extend your trip. There's rams in the area. You're not going anywhere. But you're on the mountain, right? You're probably close to water. That makes sense that you're going to be close to a water source because you're going to need that anyway. And we're early August, warm temps. What are we thinking about on a couple levels? First of all, what are we thinking about with regards to how much of that salt, 710 mils, so you've caped it. Probably not going to go into the details of caping here because it's pretty hard to have that description, but you can talk about caping a little bit, and then salting, and then about cape management in that kind of scenario. Still in the mountain, hot temps. You maybe don't have trees. You're probably not, because maybe there are some trees nearby. How do you manage all that?
Yeah, you bet. So next morning, whenever you're going to cape, don't go to a ton of detail. All the tips that I like to do. You're going to cut to the base of the horn on a sheep or a goat by a cut. That's where you've got it. Night before, you're either going to create a line up, you're going to go right up between the horns and cut each one of the horns. People use both ways. A different stitch technique, making sure it all lands together. But just doing it, then around the base of the horn, on a sheep or a goat, it's a little bit more important that you around the base from the outside rather than on a deer or an elk, or from the underside. You see people use like a screwdriver or something to really assist with those. Pull all the hair down with your hand. A sheep and a goat, you want to pull all your hair around the base down with your hands, and you want to take that and cut right at the bottom of where that horns, and it starts turning into hair, because those horns and around the bases, there's always a little bit of a softness there. You want to find that and cut the entire way around. So just do the entire thing once, so that way it's right down to underneath the cores, essentially. Back, make sure you take enough around the ear socket, a big area where people have issues with. I do even the cut around the horn. What I do, look them straight in the eye, so I put the nose and the mouth straight up towards me, and I pull the lips back to find where the gum lips attach. It's very hard to visualize, but if you can imagine, where a cowboy stuff pinch of Copenhagen in between is where you want to find that attaches to the gum line. And I take my knife and I cut along that gum line. It's better to be a little bit into the bone on the or take too much where it attaches to the gums. Really good point on stone sheep. When you're sitting there staring at that sheep in the face, that you should be also thinking about, I have to make sure I take an incisor tooth off this thing. And it's a good reminder when you're looking right at them, cutting that line. I'll do it around the top as well, and I'll start coming a little bit cavity, but I don't go too far. I mainly just do and then flip back at the eyes. At the eyes, if you can imagine the same thing, you're looking at the lips of where your gums. What you're looking for is the inside of your eyelid, where it attaches. If you were to pull an eyelid straight out, all that extra skin that an actual eye is what you want to take as well. And so you put it into the eyelid and keep pulling it away and cut the bone as you can with the knife. This is what dulls up. But this is where you want to really cut right into the eyeball, that membrane of the entire eyelid. The more eyelid you it's probably the number one area cut, and it's an area of the mouth that looks really important, is having really good eyes and stitched up eyes, etc. for you. On deer, miss, and sheep, they make sure again that you're bone. This is if you ever want to find it's caping, because you're running that blade along the bone, and you should that you're not finding right in tight on that bone. You're not taking enough, or you're going to cut a gland wide open or bit off or something, because you're trying to cut in between. So this is the time where it's all right to just cut along a long bone and dull that blade up a bit. You get down to the nose, and you'll find where that nose cartilage, it's no longer bone. And if you're good knife work, you'll feel that it's soft. Cut straight down, cut that hollow out that you in every skull. Like if you've looked at any skulls, you'll see that hollow of the nose in that nostril. And a pretty interesting point about like nasal swabs and whatnot. I listened to Jack a couple episodes back, and he was talking about nasal swabs in different areas, on especially in bighorn. One day, one of the things that would be really ideal is having those test kits in the field where you can do all your cape prep, but also before you go and take that off and you're salting and dry everything up, you can take a nasal swab there, pack it back, and you have all that information. The variables, it's going to change after thing out. See what the bios come up with nasal swabbing and herd health and that kind of. But you're going to take all that cartilage essentially out as well. Once you've got down closer to the gums, you've made those cuts, you're just going to come right to where you've cut. The whole cape is going to come off, and worry about cleaning up your skull, whatever you're taking out. You have the nose and the eye socket, sheep or eye, and then you're essentially moving cape prep, and that's the part that really starts scaring people, where they haven't planned and they don't need salt, and they don't really know why it needs salt or why, Trev told them salt, but they know they have it, and they know they're supposed to with that cape, and I've salted at that point, and have fluke success, and half jobs trying to figure it out. This is a spot where you really want to try to, even if it requires buying a taxidermy video to, there's some really good videos that show about splitting and splitting in terms, but splitting is taking all of that I talked about, like your lip skin and your eyelid, and your salt to get in there, and salt won't penetrate meat, it won't penetrate fat, so you have to create exactly the closest layer of skin underneath the hair to get. And when you're thinking about what a taxidermist needs, taxidermist has a cape that's tan, and it has extra skin from the lip and all that extra skin from the nostril, skin from your eyelids. that is the material that is or to create depth in the nose, and to create lip lines where a lip looks like it's been tucked inside the form. So you want to make sure you keep that all intact. And that's where, it's very the fine details of splitting, but it's a little bit of time realizing that you need to open those areas up. That's, they talked about in your lip that where it but it also is a visualizing inside of your lip. You want to flip that completely around so it's flat and lands, and it's just a seamless transition from your jawline underneath your jaw to your lip line, and then continue on to the inside of the lip, and that's opening all that up. You're gonna have flesh and whatnot that you're gonna have to flesh off around, around the lips and whatnot. But that's all you're doing is opening things up to let salt get in.
So, Trev,
Go ahead. Yeah.
so a quick question. So when you split the lip, like usually, and I'm not great at this, so this is something impactful for me. But you split the lip, and you kind of try and split it down the middle, right? Like, is that what you want to do? And do you flesh it at all, or do you just salt it? Because typically I split it and try and get it as far as I can, and that's the hard part, is trying to go as far to the edge of the lip without cutting the lip on the outside. So you split it as far as you can. Do you flesh that, or do you just salt it?
I don't flesh the lip side, like the
Okay.
actual side, but I'll flesh the
Yeah.
hide side. And I'll flesh
Okay.
fleshing the hide side is where there's like a chin, where they have a little bit of a growth on their like a fat their chin especially, and
Yeah.
up around that and whatnot, or they're going to be a little bit of flesh in there. Spot where you
Okay.
really just take your time and slowly start it off. If you start seeing or fleshing off some meat, if you start seeing, you're good. Don't go any further. If you start seeing hair follicles, because back off, come at a don't you're getting it's great. Take out any. If you go along feeling the thickness of that hide, you can feel thickness from hair, but you shouldn't be feeling thickness from muscle, meat, etc. So you just want to open that up. Some people they'll take a knife crosses in it, cross hatches in that flesh, salt to get in there, and that's the poor man's is essentially creating valleys for get in there. Ideally, you just want to get down to skin without getting and get that salt there. But the skin, the nostril side, the eyelid side, I don't worry about fleshing that any thinner than it could be. And when I try to get as close as you can without poking it through, I've had a lot of that's going like, you know what, that is as close. And I'm okay stopping because they've left, of a little bit of a lip poking through all the time and splitting them wide open. And ears are kind of the same way. An ear, what you want to do is you turn essentially. You're going to flesh a little bit of meat off the canal, but there's no danger in fleshing that meat off the canal. There's nothing really delicate. So you're just pulling all that meat off of that ear canal that you've left on. An ear, all you're doing is turn that ear inside that ear the whole way around. People will sometimes get, a millimeter away, and they just want that last little bit, and salt will penetrate that last millimeter or 2 millimeters, and a taxidermist would much rather have the salt penetrate there and then open them up myself all the way to once it's back from the tannery. I'll make sure that I go right to where it is. And that's not to say like that salt will penetrate this inch and a half, but you don't have to be. Mistake people make is they want to be perfect onto the and then they go through. And ears, that happens quite a bit. Tell people once you do your first ear, you should side out ear next to a in ear and hold up if do they are they close to the same size? They should be similar. If they're substantially not, or they're not close to the same shape, you know, a sheep has that nice round, a big, it's a big oval almost on the top. Goat has a really long, spindly, and bends down, points downwards. So your goat, if all you've got is a round edge, you haven't a fine bit where it starts bending down. Look at one the other way, and then once you do the other one, look at it from and compare them. You can turn them inside out and right side in a couple times and see what they. But you don't have to be, you know, down to the millimeter on an ear. To do the best job you can without blowing out, and a lot of people blow things out, and then it causes. Eyelids are probably, I'll touch on them really quick, are probably a little bit more delicate work than some people are comfortable with. I've never had people have issues if they don't do a really good job on their eyelid. If you get, that's good. There is a gland in there that they can hold a lot of oils, but most cases I've seen, if you you know, if you're not super comfortable turning an eyelid, you have to get some salt in there. And I don't often have issues around an eyelid. Most eyelids aren't turned properly in the field by people that don't. And a nostril, you're looking for the center point of that nose, and you're trying to get to it. So all that cartilage is going to be in the way. You have to run a knife through the septum of the nose and make sure that you split each one of those nostrils into separate tubes almost that are coming off the nose. And sometimes there can be some flesh around the base. I really think that a goat or a sheep can use its muscle to manipulate it. There's going to be some from them being able to manipulate it, right? So they're constantly moving their lips and their nose and whatnot. Some extra flesh in there. Yeah, and that's actually once you have all that face stuff done, the stuff that really scares people, and you flesh stuff off of, you know, maybe you've washed that hide off and you hung it in a tree or after you hide a little bit, or you've given it a couple spins around, throw some water off it. Once you've got all that hide or excuse me, fat fleshed off, looking at salting. 110 milliliter bottle is going to seem like it's not a lot. It isn't. If it's in my garage and somebody saw how much salt I put into a sheep cape that was, they don't even compare when you look at 110 milliliter bottle is going to do. But a 700 sparingly and used right can work the drying process really well for you. What you want to do is
So
go ahead.
So with that, you're going to use the whole bottle. You're going to use the whole 710 to salt it the first time, correct?
Correct. I'm going to use the whole bottle. That full, use it sparingly throughout. So I'm not going to try to save it, or going to make sure that I concentrate on the face and get into those areas that I've just turned, and I'm going to push, you know, all that and maximize it. If it hits in one spot, I'm going to let that stuff stick. Get to the areas, the edges of the cape that sometimes roll in, push it right out to, and go every little nook and cranny. If something hasn't got touched by salt, it needs to be. And you know, even with a cape that size, 710 milliliter bottle will be stuck on everything, and it'll start pooling water by the time you're even done making sure that you're rubbing it in. You'll start having, you know, what looks like sludgy water almost sitting on top of your cape, and that's totally fine. Just let that salt keep working. Kind of where after using that first bit of, you look at it and go, what's the weather doing? What are my plans? If it's a nice clear, leave that out open with the hair down up, and I'm going to let all that salt go to work. It's going to start salty water all over it. I'm not going to leave it right in the blazing sun, because I find that blazing sun, that's, you're starting to fight with that whole keeping it cool as well. Put it in the shade, but I'm going to let it get breeze. I'm going to let that salt do its. It's raining and piss and rain, and you're having a really time. You don't want to leave that cape out anymore. So I've done back at a base camp. I've taken a tarp and put it over top of that and let it lay flat, and let that water tarp, and it buggers off away from the cape, so it still is laying flat. We don't often have that luxury in a sheep camp, but if you have a sill tarp that you put some of your gear under, or your put it under there and let it sit there for a bit, so running underneath it or running all on top of it, drip, it's actually fighting this in its job. The other alternative, and the alternative that happens at night regardless, for me, what I do is to tape up. So to make sure that this is, now you don't have to worry about like a heat, trapping heat in there. Right now it should be nice and cool. You can roll that cape up into the game bag, and you can hoist it up into a tree off the ground, and you'll start noticing that thing starts dripping salt water throughout, regardless, because I just don't trust the fact that I'd wake up in the morning and a wolverine is taking my cape for a chew, or or something has come and screwed around with it. But I'll do it even if it's clear October, or but especially in the rain, that's a good opportunity there to put that where it's not getting poured rain on and the salt is working. And if you have to move camps, you've maybe out hunted that area, you're going to be traveling with that rolled up like that. Your buddy, 110 milliliters of salt, and that's a key. He still don't use it that first day. You're everything that you need out of that first bottle. So the second, you're probably going to carry it around, because I don't know if your buddy's going to carry it after you're the successful one. You might have to take the bottle from him, camp, and you're going to use that a couple days down the road. And they're dependent, and it can be a little bit of a feel of when you're going to use it. All be trip dependent. If you decide to pull the pin at one point, you know that you're going to use it, but save that for a couple days, and that's allow you to keep hunting till day 12 or whatever it is. My system on a two-person hunt for essentially what I'm going to do. The next day, if you've had that thing dripping all night, do its work again if you want. Let that sludgy salt water drip out of it, and into the hide, work it around as you're just make sure you're not missing spots, and that'll give you success for sure.
So you're looking 2-3 days, no problem with that, and just kind of playing it by ear, seeing what the conditions are. What are we looking at in terms of if you got really, really warm weather, you don't have a lot of shade, that sort of stuff? Is there ever a scenario where you'll throw it in a bag and throw it in the creek, like a perfectly sealed bag, and put it in the creek after it's done its thing for a bit, drained a bit?
I've never done that myself. It's kind of the same argument with meat too. Is that I've heard of people that have had really good success putting meat in a cold creek. One thing that we did, on my sheep hunt with the meat and the cape at one point, was we found high water, which you probably are anyways, or you're in a really weird, camping spot for the rest of your 14. You're going to be as dry as that sheep cape is by day 12 probably. But I created a little bit of a refrigerator where I found a good rock on that creek, and I created a rock igloo almost around it and over it, where the coolness of that creek was then keeping the rocks cold and keeping a sunblock with those rocks as well. we didn't submerge. Now a cape, if it was loaded up with salt like that and rolled up and it dripped off, really by the time it starts getting heat, you're not going to have bacteria growth because that salt's doing its job. And really by day 2 or 3, that salt, you're going to notice that cape start firming up and whatnot. And at that point, that heat's a bad thing for you. That cape is probably going to dry faster than you did, and it's not going to cause you issues. So the heat is important when there's no salt on something. Salt on it, I don't put it in direct sun. 3, I'd leave it out and just let that salt. There's way more value to letting it dry. It loses weight. It's drying, which is the whole of what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to dry that thing up so that it'll stand if I hold it sideways. So you're going to deal with your mornings are still going to be cool. Yeah, you don't want it in direct sun for the entire hunt, but you'll find that if you manage it properly, no different than your meat, you're going to have success. I'd rather just have that salt doing its job. So
Okay, sounds good. So now you got your out. You're good for about 3 days, depending on how much it drains. You're keeping and this is something you're thinking about, like you're checking at night. You're not you just don't deal with it and throw it away, right? You're checking on it. You're opening it up, getting that moisture out of there, rolling it back up, putting it away. Now, so after 3 days, that salt's probably done. So now you're gonna open it up, clean it up, get all that crap out of there, and you're going to resalt it. How much of that 710 on that second bottle are you going to use, Trevor? Are you going to use it all, or just sparingly, or what's your thoughts there?
And there's a couple. Okay. Now, if you had throwing wrenches in the wheel or in the plan and whatnot, in E places, or if you're depending on what you're doing, but I'm probably using it all, and there's a couple reasons why. I can dry that sheep 710 on probably day 2 or 3 or whatever it is, probably day 3. And that is if I've killed on day 1, 2, I've given it 3 to let that salt. And again, yeah, like you said, I'm looking at it I'm checking my work, and I'm going like I'm feeling essentially with that cape, right? No different with the meat. By day 3 of that salt working, 6 or 7 of a hunt, kill a ram. If you use that extra 710 milliliter bottle that your buddy has, and he kills a ram the next day, trying to beeline back to wherever the heck you are. So whether that means leaving, your animal at the camp and having to pack out twice, and what I do is I concentrate on a guy shot his ram now, and we've used his salt up. Now we can get the heck out of there with his ram, lake or back to the highway or back wherever we want to do. If we need a escape, we've got extra salt back there, so we can do that before we turn back around to go get more meat, or we can just start actually marching and start packing for it. And regardless, the goal is likely for most people to get back to base after you've killed that second. No real reason to be staying up there. So if that means it has 12 hours before you get back, 3 or 4 days away, you may start thinking of how am I getting, probably the day 3, you likely aren't shooting another, going to put you in a spot where you aren't going to get out by day 14, because 2 people, 2 rams is going to start becoming to get out on a 3 or 4 day hike. But my mantra is always that I use that second one up. The time I really would be is if we double teamed on day 710, which would give you a rest day at camp, to collect everything and do your stuff, wait off the cape, and then you'd both use that 700 maybe the next day or the day after, whatever you. But using half of that 710 isn't really going to help the next ram so much, because you're still going to have all that processing time and whatnot of taking. After we start going like the second, if we end, we're relying on that base to really be the important factor.
Okay, awesome. So, okay, you got your two rams, you're headed back, or even just your one. You get back to the base camp. So maybe your day 5 or something, day 4, or something like that. What kind of work are you doing there? Like you get all the old salt out, do a really good job, get it drying if you have the opportunity, and then salt the heck out of it with what you had as much as you can. Do you go overboard on it, type thing, or?
That's not overboard on it because I brought it, so I may as well use it. I have one sheep, get back to camp, unless that's stiff, and you can hold it, in it where it's not anymore and it's starting to dry up. You've done your job. You should drive home and don't worry about it. But they're never going to be stiff after. That's when I'm going to take that bucket, load salt up in all the areas again. I'm going to bake my face in as much salt as I can. I'm going to roll it right back up to the
days of driving. You may find that you do that
on day.
by then.
You've done enough good cape prep. That thing loaded up and it'll be fine. And then when you get home to your garage, again, almost that final step by then, and see, let them have a look. But by then that cape's going to be pretty dry and done all its work. But yeah,
okay, so you're back
at base.
Cool. Okay, so I was going to ask you about how you do the drive home, and I was going to ask you, are you stopping in Fort Nelson and grabbing, some bags of ice to throw the cape on, or are you? And you kind of answered that question that if you salted it properly, you're good to go, right? So, you get home.
You won't need. Sorry,
go ahead.
Or anything. If you job, you.
Okay. So you get the cape home, you got your CI. That's maybe going to take you a little bit of time to get that compulsory inspection done. How soon are we getting that cape over to you so you can start working on it? What does our time frames look there?
If you do it right,
you don't have to worry about it. That cape, you can drop it off a couple months later. And at that point, if you've done really good cape prep, if the cape's not dry, people will in a freezer regardless and let the salt thing freeze. The freezer's not really just keeping any warmth out of it. If the salt, a few errors, just confident in doing all those splits and whatnot. The cape's still pretty like flappy, malleable, and it's fleshy still. Thing to put it in the freezer until you can get it to somebody to have a look at it. Done this right, or I need to do something. Starts firming up though. You've essentially done everything you need to do. It's nearly as important as it is with a fresh.
Okay, cool. Any words of wisdom for people bringing their cape in? I guess they need some paperwork for you and that sort of stuff. What do they need to do when they bring their cape in and their horns in?
CI, all your contact info, of course. The CIs, again, making sure that you have that tooth. That tell people leave that, leave a little dime bag right in their tag bag, so that way when they pull out their sheet, they see that dime bag and they're like, oh, I got to make sure I take that tooth. Last couple of years or some changes. The dime bag and wondering something else, but yeah, you should be able to readily accessible supply of dime. Have a friend or a neighbor that's a little shady, but it's a good reminder. Other than that, just CI doc, the horns and whatnot. The horns will have to be removed from the cores and whatnot by a taxidermist in the week after you get. So most taxidermists like getting them sooner than later to start that process of cleaning and popping the horns off and whatnot. That's about all you need when another
okay, cool.
I didn't really hit on that's important is that hopefully you've taken a ton of pictures with you, but pictures of like side profiles, the actual animal itself. Set is an interesting one. So pictures of sheep on the angle, skull, etc. Those pictures always are really help a taxidermist, deer, caribou, elk, etc. as well. Just take a number of those photos, and that way you've got them taxidermist as well.
Cool. I never thought of that. That's a good point. Great. Okay, so is there anything else we're missing that, you know, for maybe an experienced guy, any tips or tricks left that you know, we've covered kind of everything, but is there anything where you're thinking that, you know, last words of wisdom or things we should think about that we kind of haven't covered yet?
Just looking at resources. Looking at resources, always taking too much. Take your time, especially if you have it in your pocket. Taking your time and making sure that you're not as possible. Taxidermists, you know, well, you know, taxidermists can fix it, and they can. You know, I've mounted. I've had 14, 15 inches of stitching. You know, definitely in their neck and whatnot. Fix a lot of stuff. However, the easier amount comes together and the easier form, because things haven't had to be pulled into different. You don't have to hide things. Fix a lot of things, but the cleaner product you become, better product you're going to have, and that thing's going to come together for a taxidermist. And a very, very small side of that can come to selection as well. Especially talking about, you know, people know they built all sorts of places. Like, you know, don't take a shot if you're going to ruin. You can ruin a heck of a lot more than just on a critter tumbling down a mountain. Thinking about that as well is worthwhile. Is just, again, just cutting a whole pile of holes in something is having something, you know, ripped off. And just from falling down off a cliff and broken horns and gouged out eyes and busted up noses and lips and whatnot, should just be the process, let alone the safety of getting into something and recovering it.
Cool. Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about you. So you're huge supporter of the Wild Sheep Society BC. You've done a ton every year. You're donating to our fundraisers. We've got our Barney's Ultimate Sheep Camp. Every year you donate that sheep shoulder mount to that. You've done a ton of support. I know also through the work that you do through Rackmaster Taxidermy, you donate back to the society. Can you talk a little bit about what you do there with regards to that?
Obviously, like you said, I'm a government employee in my full-time job, and I give back in my part-time job as well as I can through the business. And I'm a strong believer in membership and whatnot. So I've run a couple where if you have in a shoulder mount too, you either bought your membership or off of your mount if you were a member, for any team memberships for different people for that. And I take $100 and I don't take it to the society. I do that in combination if you haven't membership as well. I make sure that we take care of them, which you know, hopefully everyone is who's out there chasing sheep and goats in BC. But I get some Alberta and customers and clients that will shoot a sheep in Alberta or in a different, and I'll make sure I buy them a membership BC as well, just as my members and give them back a little.
That's awesome, man. We can't thank you enough for all you do for the society and all the support. And you're obviously a big driver in our membership stuff. You're always promoting, and it's gone a long way. Whenever we have a membership promotion where you do a referral, you're always winning that copy. We stopped doing it because it was like, well, we'll just give Trevor the award anyway. Because I think that one year you signed up 37 members or something. It was ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
yeah, really grateful, man. So for anyone that wants to get work done, I know that you're a super busy guy with your taxidermy. You got more work than you need. But if somebody's interested in checking out your work, I know you got a new price list out. How do they get in touch with you? Just talk a little bit about Rackmaster Taxidermy for our listeners.
Yeah, you bet. Instagram and Facebook are probably the easiest to find me. Just rack on both. Forums and whatnot. The odd people. And you can find me personal Facebook as well at Trevor Carruthers, and or at Carruthers, 2022. We can always chat, and the great thing. I'm a really good taxidermist, so it's a huge. I don't, like you said, I am have enough work right now that I always go work and other work, but key to have some really, really good taxidermists in the province that all seem to contribute to society in their own ways. Even just reaching out and asking, referring to some of the other great guys in the province. It can such a big province, and finding taxidermy versus trying to drive things. So lots of good guys out there. Reach out, and I can somebody or chat about getting something delivered, kind of stuff as well.
That's fantastic, Trevor. Can't thank you enough for taking the time today. And I think I learned a lot on this one. Like that's the thing. I've been on the mountain a few times, and I learned 4 or 5 great tips today that are going to help me going a long ways on the mountains, and hopefully this fall when I put a ram down. So thanks for all your time, all you do, and hopefully I'll be giving you a call with my goat and my sheep this fall with put you to work. So
yeah, thanks for having me on, man.